I would be remiss if I didn't start it off with the news of the day, but we'll talk about that when you guys have questions, and I think we'll address that in the coming days much more robustly. But Bill's right. We're here today to talk about our footwear and apparel agreement. When I first got here in, what was it, at the end of 2004, start of 2014, beginning of 2015, we were in the last year of our footwear and apparel contract with Adidas. And at the time that was coming up, and as the new AD, I had kind of petitioned my boss and some others, if we could somehow maybe extend that for a year while I get my feet on the ground. The campus was certainly interested in putting athletic as well as other entity type things out to the bid process to see, what the marketplace would yield. So the decision was made to do a one-year extension and then would put it out to bid. And obviously, I think it's a big day today for all of our sports because we're happy to announce that we will be pursuing and entering into a footwear and apparel agreement with Under Armour beginning on July 1. This is a 5-year deal. So this will cover 16 of our 17 sports. Just so you know, men's golf in the RFP process was a carve-out. A lot of people want to know why that is. The director of collegiate men's golf is a tremendous Aggie, a gentleman named Cricket Mush, and we thought it was very important to protect that relationship. All the companies that bid were certainly fine with that arrangement. And I think we're very fortunate to have such a powerful alumni in such a position to take care of our men's golf program. But all other 16 sports will be wearing Under Armour beginning with our fall season. The one thing that hit on me during this process was the power of the Under Armour brand. We were fortunate that we received multiple bids, and by far and away, the Under Armour bid was the most lucrative and beneficial to all of our sports programs. So as we currently are negotiating, I know that everybody wants to know what the numbers are, but we're currently trying to finalize that contract, so I'm not going to be purposefully ambiguous today, but we haven't finalized the contract, but the numbers are substantial, and that is one of the main reasons why we went with Under Armour. Quite frankly, the other reason is, in my opinion, Under Armour is the hottest brand, certainly in football as well as a lot of other sports, and you have to look no further to some of the big three. You've got Bryce Harper in baseball, you've got Steph Curry, obviously, in men's basketball, and in football, you've got Tom Brady and Cam Newton. So there are the three biggies, and arguably the hottest names are aligned with Under Armour. We did take all the coaches' input into consideration. It wasn't just a straight administrative decision. We talked to all the coaches beforehand in the process. They were all comfortable with us moving forward, and the release that you'll see has several of our head coaches' comments. Obviously, some of the first sports that'll hit, and quite frankly, how Under Armour was founded, was a football brand, and I thought it was important that Doug took some time out of his day, Coach Martin, to maybe say a few words about the upcoming partnership that we'll have and how he feels it will impact the sport of football.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Mario. I'm really thrilled about this move for our university, and particularly for our football program. Under Armour, as Mario said, in football has become the marquee brand. When you look at the teams that they have across the country, Notre Dame, South Carolina, those type of marquee programs, and for us to be able to align with that is huge in a recruiting process. And you can't tell you how big it is when kids come in. They want to know what shoe they're wearing, what apparel they're wearing, and Under Armour is that brand right now that is the hottest one in the country. So for us to be able to go with them, I think is key. I was fortunate enough when I was at Boston College, we were an Under Armour team there, and I know how well they treat the sports and how well they do their job. So couldn't be happier with this. I think our players are obviously thrilled, and I think it'd be great for our whole university.
Mario or Doug, whichever. Given the rise that Nike had when they first hooked up with Jordan back in the 80s, and with with what you mentioned about Steph and Cam and Tom, is it a case of New Mexico State catching on to the rising star, and the rising star maybe recognizing something in New Mexico State as well?
Well, from an overall programmatic standpoint, you sure hope so, and that's why I was really excited when the bids were open and Under Armour was so interested in our program, whether it's football, men's basketball, or the rest of the sports. We're having across the board tremendous success. Aggie Vision is another tremendous help to us with our games on national TV. Last night, our baseball program, you could watch it nationally. So I think that helps a lot. But yes, when you have major league athletes, professional athletes performing at the highest level and wearing the shoe and the apparel, I think it sure helps. And I think it resonates in prospective student athletes' minds that they start saying, hey, Steph Curry, Under Armour. Hey, I'm being recruited by New Mexico State for basketball. Cam Newton, in the Super Bowl, or Tom Brady, in the Super Bowl. And now New Mexico State is Under Armour, and they're recruiting me. So it's no secret that, young folks and student athletes are very loyal to the brand, and they're very into that type of stuff. Some of us administrators are more into the numbers. But the reality is, it is a big deal for recruiting, and it was a driving force in our putting the bid together. And I think we're just very fortunate that we're landing on a partnership with Under Armour.
You said you can't really talk about the numbers specifically, but is it more stuff, I guess, than what you guys currently have with Adidas?
Yeah, I mean,
uniforms and training gear.
Product, things like that. The numbers were substantially different. It made our decision very easy. Obviously, when you go through a transition, and Louis Sandoval, who's our Director of Equipment Operations, he came back and he brought back great stuff from his conference. The Naval Academy, they switched to Under Armour. We'll be doing the switch the same time as Wisconsin. They'll be switching to Under Armour as well, and Notre Dame last year. So there's templates on how you will kind of liquidate the stuff and get new stuff put in. I think always your biggest fear is year one, you're kind of replacing everything, from practice gear to uniforms to you name it. So that's why you'll see in the deal when it's finalized, it's a little top heavy, because we know we have to change a lot of stuff in year one, and then in years 2, 3, 4, and 5, we'll be able to augment our base and
Is there cash included, or is it mostly just merchandise?
Mostly merchandise. There is an opportunity for cash in the form of team performance. So the way we've been performing, it looks like cash will definitely be a part of this deal, but it's much more heavily on the product. I think that's where we are in the marketplace. Where our teams are, but we're very pleased with with what we've got.
To start out, at least, what do each team get? Like football gets a home and away, or like what's the?
Yeah, we right now we're dealing with one big number, and then some of our folks are equipment guys. Louis, Bron Cartwright, our COO. They'll sit down, and we've already looked at all of the teams. What we think their number is going to be for replacement, and then we'll divvy that out to the teams. So football will have X amount of jerseys, volleyball, et cetera, et cetera. But Under Armour certainly wants to take care of the programs that are, they want to take care of everybody, but certainly the most visible programs that have an opportunity to be on TV. So I think you'll see really sharp football, men's basketball, women's basketball uniforms right out of the gate. And then, every single team will be sporting the Under Armour brand, minus men's golf.
Will fans be able to buy, official NMSU gear, like at the bookstore or whatever?
Yes, Under Armour has obviously a retail division. They have been in contact with the Barnes & Noble folks. I think probably sometime in July or August, we'll have an event over there just to kind of have the general public and our fans, season ticket holders and donors kind of have a first crack at the merchandise. Obviously, people want to wear what the coaches are wearing on the sidelines and in practice, so I think they'll have an opportunity for that. The other thing I will say about Under Armour that makes it special is, we'll have our own specific rep to New Mexico State. He's at Yale. He'll cover other territories. His name's Dan Labus, and he's in Taos, New Mexico, but he'll be our point of contact. And then people like Walker Jones, Nick Carparelli, Sean Sullivan, will be some of the head honchos at corporate that we'll deal with, along with Mike McBride, Suzanne Williams. I feel a little fortunate that at Southern Illinois University we were an Under Armour school, so we have some of those relationships that, it's always easier when you know people, and if you need something, you can pick up the phone and say, hey, we need X, Y, and Z, and I'm very confident that through relationships, if there's ever any snags or if there's ever any bells and whistles that we want, we've got a good chance of getting it. The one thing I've noticed specifically with football is when we were at Southern Illinois, our uniforms were the same as South Carolina and the same as Auburn. And, that's our expectation here, that there's not a tier of, our elite schools and our middle schools and that we will be wearing the top of the line stuff from that company.
Any other questions for Coach Martin specifically?
Go get this
Coach,
started.
go ahead. All
Okay.
right.
Thank you, guys.
Any other questions now for Mario?
Well, Mario, I guess with the news of Marvin accepting the job at UNLV, your thoughts? Has he contacted you directly to resign his position here to go to UNLV?
I've spoken to Marvin. I'll start this out by saying that it's unbelievably new news. I will have a much more detailed comments in this press conference format, perhaps on Monday. I hope that we can pull it off by Monday. We'll let you guys have Sunday off. So my comments might be a little generic because the news is very fresh. I have not spoken to the assistant coaches. I have not spoken to the student athletes. So I wouldn't want to say a whole lot before I speak to those two groups, which are very critical. I will say I wish Marvin, I want to say congratulations to him. I think UNLV is a tremendous program. I know that Marvin has been courted by several top-notch schools. And as one of my old donors at Southern Illinois said, when we have a coach that nobody wants, we won't want him either. So I think lost in all this is the job that he's done with our program and, how sought after he was. So that is, that's that. I know that obviously they've got to handle some business on their end, and I'm sure they will. I feel very fortunate that an Aggie, Daryl Seibel, the Deputy Athletic Director, is at UNLV, is one of my close personal friends from my undergrad days when he was in media relations here. So it's always nice to have relationships once again where you can have open communication and dialogue and kind of be kept in the loop. So, we wish Marvin the best, and, now we will move into the next phase, and hopefully on Monday we'll be able to talk about that more in detail.
How quickly did it happen? Because it hasn't even been 24 hours since Beard left to go to Texas Tech.
Yeah, that's probably a better question for the folks at UNLV. As you know, these things can move lightning fast or they can drag on. And I think even maybe in this search you've seen a little bit of both. But that's probably a question for UNLV. I think generically when you do a search you have a list, and if candidate X doesn't work out, you go maybe to the next guy. That's just my speculation, but once again, that's probably a UNLV question.
It's a big hire for your first one, though. What do you typically, what do you have in mind? Do you see it as an important hire for yourself and for the university here right now?
Yeah, I'll remind everybody, I was the director of athletics at Southern Illinois for gee whiz almost 9 years, and I think in my tenure, and on Monday I'll have this number for you, but I think this will be the 10th head coach that I've hired. We hired a head men's basketball coach in April of 2012 at Southern Illinois, and obviously it was a big deal to that community who had been to 6 straight NCAA tournaments and 2 Sweet 16s and had, 2 Big Ten coaches that just came from there, and Walt Frazier and many other greats. So, that was a big deal. We also had a football coach hire in my tenure. But yeah, it's a huge hire. Forget me personally for our institution. Obviously men's basketball is unbelievably important to what we're doing here. So, you always got to get the hires right. You really got to do your homework. for men's basketball. So yeah, it's a huge hire, but it's not something that I haven't personally been involved with, so it won't be like I'm, walking into the closet saying, oh, hey, I thought this was my office, what do I do now? So, we'll have a game plan and we'll try to execute it.
Initially, when Martin didn't get the job at UNLV and he re-upped here at NMSU, what kind of conversations did you guys have, regarding the future, and did you kind of get that tone that, he was fully committed here, or how was that?
Well, I think when somebody's here 9 years, I think that has demonstrated their commitment. So I don't ever think somebody is uncommitted to New Mexico State, especially somebody who's had the success. I want to say Marvin's had 198 wins in his tenure here. So I never doubted his commitment to New Mexico State University. So tell me the second part of your question.
Just kind of the conversations you guys had when you did know that he was going to re-up after he got left out on the first time.
Yeah, Marvin, I'll tell you what, one thing that I have with my coaches, and I would encourage you to ask them, I've got an open door policy. I mean, I talk to my coaches. We don't go through intermediaries. I mean, we pick up the phone, we text, we meet in person. So, he was informing me and I was being formed as well, minute to minute. So, I didn't ever feel I was out of the loop or anything like that. So that's one thing that I like to have, is an open relationship. That way you don't get your signals crossed and you know what's going on.
What kind of job is NMSU to you, and what kind of interest have you got in the last 24 hours?
Yeah, well, it is to me, it's a tremendous job. It's a tremendous opportunity. We have a tremendous history here of Final Fours and Sweet 16s. We have a wonderful arena that I think is, I make it a point to try to talk to all the visiting coaches. When they come through here, everybody is amazed at, the historical nature of the Pan Am Center and certainly the upgrades with the practice gym. So it's an incredibly great job, obviously one you can win at, and you can get to the highest of your professions. You can ask Lou Henson that, who takes us to a Final Four and goes there, or you can ask Marvin Menzies, who takes UNLV, or Reggie Theus, who goes to the NBA. So this is a great job, not just because of the importance of basketball or the facilities. It's also a job that you can reach the highest levels of the profession from.
Given what you've got coming back next year with next year's Aggies team, has your phone been kind of ringing off the hook from coaches that are interested in taking this job, given what you've got coming back next year?
Yeah, I mean, there's been tremendous interest, and there will be. Certainly, my phone is on silent right now, so I'm sure that, if I had a battery pack, that would probably be beneficial to keep it charged up. But yes, they're the one really healthy thing that I think our alums and our fans and our season ticket holders should feel good about it. There is a tremendous amount of nationwide interest in our job. And I'm telling you that just from the last 3 days of, there may be an opening here.
I know it's really fresh, but do you kind of have just a tentative schedule of when you want to make, that hire for going into the summer and getting a program established again?
Yeah, I'll address that more on Monday, and the answer is I'm not going to give a time frame. Never have, don't really like it, because the day that you're one day over the time frame, that, oh my goodness, what's wrong? So we won't give a time frame. We'll be as I say, we'll be quick, but we won't hurry.
Gentlemen, we're going to need to wrap this up because we do have the spring football game coming up here in just a few minutes. So we do appreciate it. And again, we will have a news conference on Monday. We will let everybody know when that will be.
Yeah. You got one more?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you if you have anybody in mind for an interim job.
We'll talk about that on Monday.